All right, so yesterday we did, what's our step number 1 yesterday? To look at the lower and upper class limits, right? And what did we notice yesterday? What the lower and upper class limits are? Guys, what's the lower and upper class limits from yesterday?
The lower is 65.
The lower is 65. Where is that 65 again?
The second one on the far
There we
right.
go.
And then
There we go. OB. And the highest is, what did we say the highest was? 300 something, right?
322.
322 or is it 322 here?
Yeah.
Okay. But again, since those numbers are kind of like not so friendly of numbers, so we're gonna consider like 50s, 25s, 10s, or 20s. That will be perfect for such. So we said the 65. So the low is 65. We consider what for such? I think we considered 50 for such, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the highest that we have seen in here, we got the 322.61, and we consider what? 325. All right. So at least they're like divisible by 25s, right? And again, we consider the what did we do? Did we get the class width? Is it the class width that we got?
Yeah, it was 11.
Very good, right? So class width is basically the highest, right? 325, bless you, minus the lowest, which is 65, divided by, so it looks like in here, the 25s is the perfect like interval for such, right? And with that, we got it to be how much? 11, right? So that's what we are expecting. So what is that 11? Let's now figure it out by using our stat crunch for such. Ready, guys? Okay, so let's do our stat crunch for this. So first thing that we're gonna do is, ready? Okay. So we are already here on our data set. Okay, so you click on the 2.2, table 12. So those are the finds, right? So after that, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I've started doing like notes on like everything up until now.
Wow. That's
I'm only like halfway done, so.
Ready? Okay, let's select data. Okay, so after data, let's select bin, right? Where's that bin? So again, go to data, select bin. Let's click on that one, and here's what we're gonna do. Click the variable we choose to summarize, and that is what? Find, right? So that first column is about finds, right? So that's a variable in there. And then we're gonna click on use fixed with bins. Now we're gonna start at where? A while ago we said we're gonna start at the lowest, which is what? 50, right? So we're gonna start at 50, there we go. And then the bin width, we said the bin width is what? By 25s, right? So we're gonna put in there 25. Get it? Okay. And then after that, what we're gonna do? We're gonna select include left endpoint. Okay, so again, we're gonna select include left endpoint for such, and then press compute. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna get out of this, right? So again, we went to data, we went to bin, we went select the find column. We started at 50, that's the lowest, that's the bin with 25, and we click on left endpoint, press compute. As you notice, it's creating a what? A bin for finds on the what? Second column.
wow.
Get it? Now what does it do then? So this is what we're gonna do then. Select stat. Get it? Okay, so select stat. Here it is. Oops. And highlight tables. Get it? And then we're gonna click on frequency. So in this case, we're gonna create a frequency and relative frequency tables. Right? There we go. Now, in here, instead of selecting find, we're selecting the bin find. okay, because it's already categorized into class widths. Okay. Next, under the type, you can select frequency and or relative frequency. Okay, so here it is. As you may notice, both these two are already highlighted anyways, so click on those, frequency and relative frequency. Okay, so the relative frequency is the ratio, right? Okay, out of the total frequency. And then after that, you can order by ascending, our Pareto bar if you want it to be like that, or not, so it's fine. And then let's see what we're gonna get out of this. Okay. Okay, so as you may notice in here, if we enlarge it, see it from there, guys. Okay. So if you see it from here, let me just go ahead and erase it for a little bit. Okay, so that is our class intervals, all right? So 50 to 75, there's one of them. Actually, the 65 a while ago, that's one. And that's what? 0.02, right? That's the relative frequency, right? So again, this is the frequency and relative frequency table of our continuous data. Got it, guys? Okay. Now, how do we now construct a histogram? Then, okay, so let's now deal with how to convert this into histogram this time. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna select graph. Get it? Okay, so I'm gonna select graph this time, and then I'm gonna go to histogram. Where is that? Ooh, there we go. Get it? Okay, so I clicked on graph. I click on histogram. Here it is. I click on find. Here it is. So graph, histogram. That's the find there. And then on the bins, let's see now in the bins in here. Okay. So on the type, I'm gonna click on frequency and okay. So it can be frequency and relative frequency as well. Get it? Okay. So you can select one of them. And then on the bins here, you have the option of choosing a lower class limit for the first class by entering a value in the cell marked bins. Start at. So where do we start at?
50?
50, yeah. And the width, I think we said 25, right? That's the class width a while ago.
Where did you get the 25 from?
We got the 25 from, as we may notice a while ago, the 65 a while ago, we changed it to 50 to make it a friendlier number, okay? Now the 322.61, we notice that's the friendliest number that we can see out of it is 325. Now if you may notice this too, the most friendly number that we can see between 50 and 325 is that it is divisible by 25. That's why we selected like 25 in there as a class width. Get it? But again, we are expecting how much? Like 11 bars on that histogram, okay? So let's see. See that's what we're gonna see out of it. Okay, so here it is, and then we can select the labels in here if you want to. Let's see, are they labels in here? Let's see. Okay, here it is, right? So x-axis labels, what the x-axis labels are, that's the what? Finds, right? And the y-axis label, we can say that that is the what? The relative frequency, right? Relative frequency. And again, because I chose the relative frequency, but again, you have the option to choose frequency as well if you want to, okay? And the title, we can say in here the what? The histogram, okay? Histogram of finds, right? Okay. in where? I think it says there, City of New York, right? So histogram of fines in the City of New York. Let's see what we're gonna get out of it. Let's compute.
Error. No.
Got it, guys? Okay. So as we may notice in here as well, so if you see from, okay, let me just erase this one in here, okay? Okay. So if you see from here to here, how did it translate from frequency and relative frequency table to histogram, right? So as we may notice in here, 0.02. So as you may notice in there, that's like 0.02, right? Relative frequency from 50 to what's that? 75. Get it? From 75 to 100, there's nothing, right? That's why there's 0 in there. And then from 100 to 125, it says 7 as frequency, but this is 0.14 in terms of relative frequency, right? And so on. Get it, guys? So as you may notice in here, analyzing this one, what type of fine or how much fine in terms of class width has what? The most or is the most frequent? What type of the fine or what amount of fine is the most frequent in terms of interval?
200 to 225.
Very good, right? So as you may notice in here, the 200 to 225, as you may notice, let's annotate, right? This bar in here is the highest, right? So we can say that this is the most frequent fine amount. Okay, and what's that most frequent fine amount? As you may notice in here, that is what's that? $200 to $25 is the most frequent fine amount, right? Considering that it's like what? 26%, right? So when you say relative frequency 0.26, that means 26% of all those people who were fined in the City of New York amounted to how much? $200 to $225. Get it, guys? Get it. Okay. So any questions regarding that one, guys? As you may notice in here, for what we call our making the histogram, how to analyze that, making the frequency and relative frequency tables from our continuous data, right? So summarizing first, what's the minimum and what's the lower class limit from that, okay? What's the maximum, the highest, and the highest class limit from that? How are you gonna get the class interval and the class width, right? So what's that? The highest minus the lowest over the what? The intervals, right? And after that, we did StatCrunch to analyze this. So what we did in here is to see which interval do they belong to, and then from that we created our frequency, relative frequency table, and translated into our histogram as well. As you may notice, the difference with a bar graph and a histogram is as such that the histogram works on continuous, again, continuous quantitative data, right? However, a bar graph only works on what? Qualitative, right? On qualitative variable or qualitative data. Get, guys? All right. Thank you. Listen.